Hero's Shadow by Feeling Stabby. Chapter 4. Rivals. There are some warnings, which is bullying and unalive baiting. So do be warned. If you can't deal with those, do not watch this. Yippee! Let's get into it now. Aizawa Shota is done with life right about now. His day started out pretty well. He woke up at a fairly good time, had his favorite coffee, ate breakfast with his obnoxiously loud husband, and then proceeded off to work. He may have expelled his entire homeroom class a few months earlier, but he still has other lessons to teach the rest of the students at UA. Besides, Nezu doesn't allow his teachers to just slack off, even when they technically don't have a class to teach. But back to the point. Everything started out okay. He felt relaxed, content, so content that it made him suspicious, because something has to go wrong. Good days like this one don't come by very often, especially on a weekday when he has to work. It just doesn't happen. It's around lunchtime when he gets the call, and Shota can tell just by looking at the caller ID that his instincts were correct, as always. The underground hero sighs and pulls down his chopsticks, wondering balefully if he'll ever get the chance to finish his teriyaki.
What is it, Tsukachi?
The detective laughs a little over the line.
Don't sound too upset. I think you'll enjoy your visit this time. Oh god, here we go.
Shota picks at his food, aware of Hisashi and Nemure staring at him as he speaks.
You want me to come to the station again?
If you can. I only need a few minutes, at the very least.
Let's see if Nezu will let me leave early after my last lesson. What do you need?
I'm sure you saw the news last night. The hero snorts.
Course I did. It's all everyone's talking about right now.
Fucking rabbit. The Vigilante has done it again, embarrassing all of the pro heroes in the city yesterday by taking down a drug ring that local authorities hadn't even been able to locate, much less initiate a full takedown on. Shota didn't actually watch the coverage of it live as he was getting ready for his patrol, but Hisashi had recorded it for him. Not that he needed to, though. Every news station within a 50-mile radius of the attack has been replaying the scene of Rabbit jumping out of the helicopter like some sort of maniac every 5 minutes. They truly have nothing else to report on. Getting to be kind of annoying.
Well, I feel like it's time to start the process, Aizawa.
Shota doesn't have to ask what that means. They've been planning it for a while. Shota has been keeping an eye on Rabbit for a few weeks now. Nothing too special, just some tracking to figure out where the Vigilante tends to patrol and also the area and perimeter he covers. So far, he hasn't been able to gather much. The kid is slippery. He seems to know that he's being followed, and after only a few minutes of Shota trailing him, Rabbit just disappears into thin air, as if he'd never been there in the first place. Shota hates to admit that he's a little impressed. Aizawa? The detective's inquiring voice brings him out of his thoughts. Can you be in the station in, say, a few hours? Right. This is his case after all. Shota makes an affirmative noise.
I'll see to it. Give me a little bit.
He hangs up, and with a long-suffering sigh, Shota gets up to talk with the principal. He already knows he's going to regret this. Oh well. Going to the station? Hisashi asks, peering up from him from his place at the table. Shota nods, grabbing his scarf off the hook and wrapping it around his neck.
Is it alright if I take the car? You might have to walk home.
Sure. Hey, I'm gonna go get some more cat food before lunch is over. We ran out this morning, so I'll be leaving in a few.
Yawning, Shota nods in confirmation and picks up his sleeping bag from the corner by the door. Feeling the beginnings of another headache coming on, he starts for his office to gather the work for his next class. Nezu will no doubt say yes when he asks. The mammal has never had an issue with him leaving early before. He passes by the teacher's lounge and chooses to ignore Hisashi's amplified laughter as the voice hero berates Nemure for taking the rest of his teriyaki. They'll get her back tomorrow. Izuku hates bullies. To be fair, most everyone does. You have to be a special kind of asshole to actively support bullying, especially when it's against people who don't deserve it. Which is why it's easy for Izuku to stand up to jerks. It's the right thing to do. He knows what it's like to be put down, to be hated by everyone around you, and be spit on and treated like nothing more than an animal. He knows what it feels like, so Izuku will be damned if he lets someone else go through that. He tries to help as best he can. Most time, he does it well. He'll see a group of kids picking on someone that they deem weaker, and he'll step in. Most of the time, the bullies back down. That's the things. Most bullies aren't used to their victims fighting back. They'll get surprised. They'll insult you a bit and then make their exit after deciding it's not worth it. But it's not really an exit. It's not really a show of kindness. It's a show of cowardice. It's more of an escape. Some bullies, however, don't back down. These are the ones you really have to watch out for. These ones will break you down. They'll pick out the things you hate most about yourself and bringing it out into the light for everyone and their grandma to see. It's harsh, and it's wrong, but it happens. And Izuku had thought that after everything he's gone through, after all the shit he's overcome, he'd be immune to it. And in many ways, he is. But the insults hurt worse coming from certain people. People who you used to trust. After Kachan leaves for school, Izuku takes a quick shower and borrowed some of his clothes, thinking that his friend probably won't mind. Probably. When he comes downstairs, Mitsuki is sitting at the counter with a cup of coffee in hand, getting ready for work. Masaru must have left already. It's a Friday, after all. Those are the busiest days of the months. Izuku makes sure to thank her again for letting him stay, and after promising to be safe and not be late next time he comes over, the boy skips out of the house with his notebook in his hoodie pocket. He has a few things to do today, seeing as his rabbit costume has a few holes in it now, plus the fact that some of his weapons got destroyed when he set the hideout on fire. Good times. So today he has to buy some fabric to patch up his costume, look through some dumpsters for abandoned technology and metal parts, and then wash his clothes at the laundromat, which makes it a full day for him. He's on the way to the embroidery store down the street from his apartment when his plans first seem to go down the drain, because as he continues to slip through the crowds of people, he accidentally bumps into someone. Except it's not an accident. Not on his part, at least. The next thing he knows, Izuku is being grabbed by meaty hands and slammed into the concrete wall just inside the entrance of an alley. His wide eyes trail up to meet the scornful expression of a boy around his height, and Izuku can already tell that things aren't about to go his way. He knows this kid. No, he knows these kid. Because there's more than one. 3, to be exact. All encasing him in arms coming out to trap him against the dirty wall. And honestly, Izuku could have avoided this. He felt the moment in the air a split second before the hand even came into contact with his shoulder, just before he was pushed by 2 other pairs of hands into the alleyway. He could have avoided it because he felt the attack coming. In 4 seconds flat, Izuku could have had all 3 of these kids on the ground crying, probably sporting a broken bone or split lip, or something even worse. But he's not Rabbit. Here. He can't fight them, and besides, if he dodged the hand, the idiot would have hit the guy behind Izuku. You see, it's different when you're defending someone else from a bully or criminal. At that point, it becomes self-defense. The laws become more lenient at that point, especially when you have an alibi or witness to back you up. But here, right now, the only witness is Izuku himself. And to make matters worse, he's the one getting bullied. Which means he can't fight back. Not unless he wants to find himself in jail. For real this time. He can get arrested if he harms them because no one ever believes the victim. Not when there's someone like Midoriya Izuku. His eyes glance between the trio and Izuku's throat suddenly tightens. It hurts worse coming from certain people. People who you used to trust. These are Kachan's friends. Or should he say, were. He recognizes them all. The one with splendidly fingers and angular face. He's the one Kachan hates the most. He's in the middle of the group now, still holding Izuku against the wall. He must be the acting leader. The next one is a boy Izuku can only faintly remember. He has a square chin with hair that stops right above his eyes, and Izuku can't quite recall what his quirk is, but he can feel its faint power humming beneath the other boy's skin. But Izuku remembers Bully 3 clearly. He's round, just a little chubby. The most defining feature, however, are the crimson wings he sports on his back, folded neatly in on themselves. They look almost leathery in texture, set with talons at the end of each joint. They've definitely gotten bigger since the last time Izuku's seen them. "Tsubasa?" Izuku breathes out, staring at his old friend. The boy doesn't answer, only letting out a sneer as he looks back at the ringleader, waiting for an order. Izuku faintly realizes the power dynamic here is obvious. Kachan's replacement presses him harder against the wall, his breath hot against Izuku's cheek.
Midoriya,
He scoffs, and his voice is almost laughable. It's almost as if the boy is forcing himself to sound like an edgy teenager who just finished his second bowl.
Didn't think we'd find you here, of all places.
It sounds like a normal conversation to anyone else, when in reality it's anything but. It's more of the calm before a storm. That's how they get you, Izuku thinks. They build you up and make you think you're their friend, and then they hit you where it's hardest. They're nothing but a bunch of slimy assholes, thinking they're tough shit. Izuku can identify this. He can identify the problem and even come up with the solution for it. But the problem is just that he can't seem to execute it. A slap to the face jolts him right out of his thoughts. He stumbles slightly, realizing all of a sudden that his knees still hurt like a bitch. Escaping won't be an easy feat.
I asked you a question, Deku.
The leader starts up again, getting right in his face.
You don't want to be rude, do ya? Answer me.
Deku. Called him Deku. As in, useless. As in the nickname Kachan gave him a long time ago. The nickname that started out as an insult and is now nothing more than a term of aggressive endearment. But only when it comes from Kachan. And now this idiot is bringing back the old meaning of his name? Oh no. He shouldn't stand for it. He really shouldn't. He should drag these boys through the mud until they beg for him to stop. Shouldn't you guys be at school? Izuku asks instead, clearing his throat and praying he doesn't sound as snappy as he thinks. It's not time for it to be out yet. He sees the smack coming and braces for it, relaxing his face like he's been taught multiple times. His head snaps sideways with the force of the blow, and Izuku is now facing the street, only just able to see what's going on through the gaps left between the two boys closest to him. He takes a few deep breaths in through his nose, ignoring their barked laughter all around him. It sounds like nails on a chalkboard.
Now I don't think that's any of your business, is it?
That's the forgotten boy. The one Izuku can only faintly remember. His voice is squeaky, almost artificially so. Izuku wishes he'd been patrolling as Rabbit at this moment. He would have roasted the hell out of them all. So they got kicked out, or are they skipping? Probably the first. He receives a kick to the shin, and he nearly buckles as his bad knee is jostled even more. He has to stay up. He's taken a whole lot worse before. He just has to keep up the facade for enough time for them to get bored with him, or maybe for someone to step in. They tease him, but he's used to these words. They're more of a backdrop to his thoughts than real insults.
Worthless.
Creep.
Back goes little witch bitch. Finally decided to drop out of school, huh, Deku?
Guess he figured he wouldn't make it after all. Izuku sees a few people glance inside the alleyway when they walk past. But instead of lending a hand, they just turn away. They keep walking. In a way, Izuku isn't surprised, but it doesn't stop the spark of rage igniting inside of him. He forces it down with a swallow. This is not the best area to lose his cool in. They're just kids. It's probably what everyone's thinking. The onlookers. Just boys being boys, roughhousing and all of that. Must be good friends. But there's no way. No way those people can't see what's going on, and what's even worse, Izuku spots a cop on the other side of the street watching the crowd for any suspicious movements or interesting events. He catches his eye, and for a few long moments Izuku waits. He waits for the cop to come over and stop them, to break up the literal assault going on, but he doesn't. He gives Izuku one last look before glancing away as if he never noticed him there in the first place. Somewhere in the midst of the spite-fueled rants being thrown his way, Izuku ends up falling to the asphalt. That's when Tsubasa lands his first hit on him, a weak kick to his stomach. They keep going, but it doesn't hurt much. Having a high pain tolerance really helps in these circumstances. Besides, they're not hurting him too badly. And if they're doing it to him, chances are they do it to someone else if given the moment. Better Izuku than someone else. He wants to fight back, but another part of himself knows he can't because for one, they don't know any better. They've never been taught how to deal with their emotions correctly, which is still not an excuse, but it is a reason. Kachan would have ended up like them. He probably would have ended up worse had Auntie not forced him into therapy. And second, Izuku can't bring any attention to himself in this alleyway. If he becomes the punching bag for once, or maybe even a few times, they might decide not to hurt anyone else. He can be that sacrifice. Izuku would love to beat their asses and hand them over to the police. Oh, Tsukauchi! The detective loves straightening up bullies. But chances are he'd be put in jail, even with the detective's quirk to help him out. There's no proof that any of this happened, and lie detectors, even human ones, are still subjective in most courts. The only thing Izuku can do is fight back just a little bit. Just enough to keep them interested and off of someone else's case. He can humor them a little. Besides, this is good practice for him. He sees a steel-toed boot heading for his nose and instinctively grabs it, twisting the leg and ankle simultaneously so the person trips over their own body. The ringleader lands next to him and starts yelling more obscenities at him, becoming progressively louder, which is what Izuku wants. Even after these years, the trio is still utterly predictable. They'll no doubt take any bait he lays out for them. It's not until elongated fingers reaches into his hoodie pocket does he actually startle. His notebook. His analysis notebook, filled with all of his notes and theories on all the recent villains and heroes, is snatched out of his grasp and thrown right into a large puddle next to the dumpster. Are you fucking serious? Hey, what are you? Izuku is cut off by Tsubasa's meaty fist flying towards him, and quicker than lightning, Izuku grabs his wrist between his fingers and yanks him forward. Tsubasa smashes face first into the wall with a loud crack and cries out in pain, slumping to the side. Oops, so much for not doing too much damage. The boy Izuku had forgotten about gasped, taking a few steps back from his previous place beside Tsubasa. He's obviously the weakest link. Izuku had a feeling he would crumble as soon as one of his friends went down. Izuku jumps to his feet and heads for his notebook, only for the ringleader to grab the back of his hoodie and swing him around. Don't hit him. You might hurt him. He merely ducks under ringleader's fist, kneeing the other boy in the stomach so he stumbles away. Tsubasa must have recovered already, as when Izuku turns back, the mutant is now holding the notebook in his hand with a furious look on his face. Tsubasa! Izuku tries, holding his hands out, placatingly. Please, give me my... There's a rush of wind to his side, and Izuku forces himself not to move as the third boy fucking slaps him. What a bitch. Izuku tastes iron in his mouth and grits his teeth, dazed for only a moment. Ringleader is now on his other side, blocking him in. Tsubasa stands triumphantly in front of him with his wings outstretched. I need my notebook, and they're going to make me fight to get it. They want him to fight. They want him to get arrested, most likely. At this point, fuck it, whatever, he needs his notebook back, no matter the cost. He spent a lot of time on it, and his own analysis of his quirks are in there. Izuku crouches down a little lower, fist clenching. He prepares for a fight, and he sees the trio tense in anticipation. They'll go for the first hit. At least, Ringleader will. Tsubasa will likely follow, and the third one will have no choice but to. Ringleader is rushing forward, fingers outstretched to do who knows what, when a loud voice comes from the entrance to the alleyway and freezes them in their tracks.
What's going on here, boys?
Izuku stares at the intruder, because that's what he is at the moment. He could be a cop looking to arrest him, or maybe even a random civilian looking to get in on the action. It sounds sick, but Izuku has seen it happen before. The man is tall and lanky, and his hair, a nice shade of yellow, is pulled back to presumably keep it from getting in his eyes. He looks like he has it in a half bun. But that's not the most interesting thing about the mystery man. He has red, rectangular glasses sitting on the bridge of his nose, framing a set of piercing green eyes. Eyes that Izuku swears he knows, but he just can't put his finger on. The voice, too, he realizes. It has a certain ring to it, and also, is he carrying a bag of cat food? Izuku opens his mouth to speak, but Ringleader beats him to it.
We're just having fun, sir.
His voice is high-pitched, and it's such an obvious lie that Izuku wants to laugh. He should have let me talk. I would have been a hell of a lot more convincing. And from the looks of it, Mystery Man doesn't believe the act either.
Oh, yeah?
He frowns a little, walking casually towards them while still carrying the cat food.
What you doing with that notebook there, huh, kiddo?
He's looking at Tsubasa, and the boy in question folds under the adult's knowing glare. He sheepishly shoves the journal back into Izuku's chest, wings flapping slightly out of nerves. We're all just, playing a game of catch. Real convincing. Maybe phrase it like a statement next time, Dragon Boy, and it might be a little bit more believable. Izuku holds his notebook tightly, not wanting to risk it getting tossed into another puddle. Mystery Man stops a few feet away from him, frowning deeply.
Is that right? Well, I think maybe you three should pick another game. This one doesn't look like too much fun. Yeah?
It sounds more like an order, and Izuku is hit again with the same feeling that he knows this man. The intruder, savior, more like, points back to the mouth of the alley with a thumb, giving the boys all the incentive they need to start scrambling. They keep a safe distance away from Mystery Man as they flee towards the exit, and the one closest to Izuku, the forgotten boy, shoots him a scathing look and says, voice low,
You should really do yourself a favor and jump off a skyscraper, Deku. Maybe then you won't be so pathetic.
And Izuku had been waiting for a comment like that, had been waiting for a taunt, a finishing blow, but now that he's actually hearing those familiar words, he feels himself get sick.
If you think you'll have a better quirk in your next life, go take a swan dive off the roof.
The memory tastes foul on his tongue, and Izuku shakes it away quickly. Forgotten Boy is gone with shrill laughter, leaving Izuku and the Mystery Man alone together in an alley. Great. Izuku flips through the pages of his notebook, quietly seething. All of his notes are ruined. The pages are soaked, and he can barely read the words written in them. His drawing, theories, all of his hard work, destroyed. He can probably salvage some of it, sure, but it's the fact that he has to do it at all that makes him angry. A hand lands on his shoulder.
You alright, son?
Izuku snaps the notebook shut and shoves it back into his hoodie pocket, glancing up at the taller man. I'm fine, sir. Thank you. You didn't have to do that.
Nonsense,
the blonde says happily, retracting his hand.
I'm glad to help. Do they do that often?
He sounds used to this. Is he a cop? Not really. They just like to play rough sometimes. That sounds believable, Izuku thinks. The man probably would have believed it, had he not just witnessed Izuku almost get the shit beat out of him.
Uh-huh,
he says, brows scrunching suddenly.
Hey, you're bleeding above your eye there, listener. Here.
The man digs in his back pocket for a moment before handing Izuku a band-aid and looking closer. The boy can see a small print of a cat on top. Who the hell just carries a band-aid on them? Maybe he's more of a doctor? Izuku wipes the trickle of blood off his forehead with his sleeve, thanking the man once more as he applies the bandage. He stands there for a moment after, the silence awkward as he realizes the stranger is studying him before blurting out, I have to get going, sir. I'm gonna be late. He doesn't wait for a reply as he runs out of the alleyway and disappears into the throng of people. The man's quirk had given off a strange, calming aura. It felt nice, in a way. Almost, dare Izuku say, comforting. Again, he can't shake the pressing feeling that he knows him from somewhere. There's a strong possibility that he could be a cop or maybe even a hero. In all fairness, his brain is too muddled from the bullies' insults to think too much on anything else. He ignores everyone's stares and judgmental gazes, opting to instead continue on his way to the embroidery store. It closes pretty early, so he has to hurry. After that, he'll finish his other plans. It'll take a few hours, but if he does it right, he should have enough time to go to Tony's for free breadsticks again. At least the day had started out shitty, he thinks. Now it can't get worse. It can only get better from here. Right?
You have his phone number.
It's not a question. Shota hopes the disappointment is evident on his face as he stares at the text Tsukachi apparently received from Rabbit himself. Nizu let him off work a little early, as expected, so now he's here at the station having to deal with this bullshit. The detective has the decency to look a little sheepish as he replies, Well, yes, but I don't know how he got it, and he started texting me a week or so ago.
Did he find a location?
Shota takes the phone and scrolls up, reading the rest of the messages. Maybe the kid left a clue or something? A hidden message? Nope. Tsukachi spins in his rolling chair, blowing out an annoyed breath. The number is private. It's a burner phone by the looks of it, but the fact that he uses emoji throws out that idea. It has to be a smartphone.
He's childish.
Shota observes the Vigilante really does use an excessive amount of emojis. No doubt on purpose to give them this inner dilemma on what kind of phone he's using.
Or he just likes to piss people off, Sukachi offers. You told me before that he's likely trying to come off as innocent so the heroes won't try to arrest him. He tilts his head in thought, and also so we'll underestimate him. Shota hands the phone back, huffing when he reads the latest text again. I lived, bitch! Sent at around 8 in the morning, which is interesting in itself. It follows a string of messages from Sukachi, who asks the Vigilante if he survived his latest stunt. The detective was obviously worried. You think he's injured? Shota asks, turning back to the holographic whiteboard. The time frame between the incident and when he answered you is short, considering he jumped out of a helicopter. Sukachi stands up and drags a video file with his pointer finger onto the whiteboard. He expands it so it starts to play, showing the last minute of the warehouse fight. He didn't get injured too badly here. The most he got was a strike to the knee, but it doesn't look like the bone shattered. Shota narrows his eyes at the display. The Vigilante is quick, incredibly so. He seems to have a lot of experience in dealing with multiple targets at once while also minimizing property damage. Well, at least before he set the place on fire. Shota pauses the video just as the first spark of flame leaches into the air beside Rabbit's figure and starts to spread over the dry wood of the warehouse. That could be a fire quirk. I don't see a use of any implement. The detective shakes his head. Previous encounters have shown that Rabbit does have a flamethrower, homemade by the looks of it. So we couldn't search the records to find who's bought one in the past couple of years. His file says he has basic enhancements, Shota continues. If we narrowed down everyone in Japan based on his build and featured, we'd still get nowhere. 10% of this country has a basic enhancement quirk. If we're to be broad, there's no way we could limit that range any further. Despite the chances we still tried to do so, by the end we still had around 9,000 potential suspects. We don't have enough information to narrow it down further. It's a dead end at the moment. Shota rubs a hand on his face. He brings up another video file, this time of the most well-known part of the incident, the one with Rabbit taking a spectacular dive off the spiraling helicopter. The only thing we don't know is how he managed to survive this. Sukachi speaks up again. We spoke to the young girl yesterday. She was present at the time he allegedly smashed into our hotel room window. His voice takes on an amused tone. The only thing she could give us was a clue to his voice. She said he sounded a little weird when he apologized to her, and his words were a little choppy. Oh, there's one explanation for that, one that Shota has been pondering on for a while. He might have a voice changer. I doubt he bought it with how smooth it sounds most of the time. Same with the flamethrower. He must have made it himself. That's what I thought. All of his weapons he used, they're all one of a kind. Sukachi drags up a few grainy photos of Rabbit's support items. Exiting out of both videos, a post office is the more prominent among the pictures, along with a few dozen knives and capture wires. My team can't find any of these on the market, even illegally. So he's incredibly smart, Shota concedes. Or he has a few amazing clients. The other man nods. There's also a chance he wears contacts. We have no proof, but we'd like to keep that theory on the table. What I'm hoping is that you can get some information from him. And that has Shota turning to look at the detective, hand shoved deep inside his pockets. He's too tired for this shit today. You want me to start phase 2? I don't think you should capture him just yet, Sukachi says after a moment of pause. Just talk to him about what we're offering. Maybe he'll come to his senses. Shota can't help but snort. I have a feeling he knows I've been keeping tabs on him. He won't take too kindly to me talking to him. He'll instantly be on the defense. Sukachi grins. Well, there's only way to find out how he'll react, isn't there? And for what seems like the millionth time today, Shota sighs. He longs for his sleeping bag. Fine. I'll try to see if I can talk to him in the next few days. The man thanks the underground hero sincerely, but Shota just rolls his eyes and makes for the door. Just don't expect something big to come out of it. I know people who used to act like him before. Chances are he's going to laugh in my face and disappear on me again. Perhaps permanently this time. If he messes this up, everything might crumble. The progress they've made will have to be restarted. For the kid's sake, Shota hopes that won't happen. And that is the end. Sorry that, all of this is,
sorry that this took so long. I developed carpal tunnel and couldn't edit. Well, I mean, I developed it like a day or two ago, but I'm editing now because I don't give a fuck about my wrist anymore. The swelling has obviously gone down, and the inflammation of the tendon or muscle in my wrist obviously has gone down. I did have to keep a brace on it for a couple of days, but I'm feeling all better now. I mean, my fingers and my hand hurt just a tiny little bit, but it's feeling a lot better than it used to. All I get now is shaky fingers on that one hand. It's not on my other hand, it's just on the one hand, so I know that it's not a cause of, like, coffee or something that I drink. Yeah, so this was an interesting thing. We finally get phase 2 started. Let's go! Though, poor Izuku. Love present Mike, though. Step in for Izuku! Well, share in the comments what you thought. Literally cannot wait. I'm gonna be honest. Due to my wrist doing this, I'm most likely going to get it again until I get, like, something for my wrist. I don't have a mouse pad, I don't have anything, so I'm gonna be honest. Don't be surprised if this doesn't come out. I'm filming this on the 6th, by the way. Literally 1 a.m. at 6, but whatever. Right, so expect this to be out probably, I don't know, the 9th? It's the 9th or 10th? Yeah, so I expect it to be around out on the 9th because I really shouldn't be editing and I should be resting my wrist and stuff. But stay hydrated, shower, because you probably smell, or probably haven't taken a shower in a while. I need to take a shower. I'm actually planning on taking a shower every other day now, because I want to get the rest of my hair dye out so I can bleach my hair. That, or dye it again, because I don't know. I need a new color. Currently, as you can see in the photo literally on screen right now, like the one photo I always put, I have red hair currently. Literally ginger. I'm a ginger. My friends call me Lobster. It's very fun. So yes, stay hydrated. Eat 3 meals. Eat 5 a day even. Having snacks is good. My sleep schedule is flipped, but you should be sleeping properly. Otherwise, you'll end up like me, who's sleeping 10 hours a day, and all of their friends accidentally think they died. Alright. This has been a very long talk. Bye.